So, what is my take on the spiritual meaning of the eclipse? Hey guys, it's John here in my living room enjoying a beautiful, slightly overcast morning, drinking my big mug of coffee. Loving life. People have been asking me lately about the spiritual meaning of the eclipse. And I find it interesting. I often say that I'm not old age, I'm not new age, I'm present age, and when I think about this concept of what is the spiritual meaning of the eclipse, I think the actual concept of a spiritual meaning about the eclipse is both old age and new age. In the old age, the sun would get dotted out by the moon, and the people go, "Oh my gosh, God must be mad with us," and there's a spiritual meaning as to why it's happening. In the new age, they've extrapolated this event to mean something that's fated, destined, or pre-planned, because that's what astrology is. It's things are happening because of the stars. Same with numerology. Same with a lot of various New Age beliefs. For me personally, I think it's all far simpler. And for me personally, there is no spiritual meaning to the eclipse. It's just an experience that I'm going to experience. And when I say I'm going to experience, I am one of the lucky people that am in the direct path of the eclipse this year. And I'm excited about it because I'm going to set up my cameras and I'm going to record it, and because I think it's going to be very cool to watch and to have. And so I'm excited about it. But when it comes down to the spiritual meaning of it, I respect everybody else's beliefs. They're allowed to believe whatever they want. Spirituality is a personal journey, as my mom always said. For me personally, it has no spiritual meaning whatsoever. I truly do believe one of the foundational stones of my personal belief that came from my first regression, which was it's all so simple we have a hard time comprehending it. And I think when I look at the concept of a spiritual meaning of an astrological event like this, I think that's a complexity that's not in my personal truth. It's a pathway away from myself. For there to be fates or destined things to happen because of astrological events, that means I don't have free will. That means I don't have the ability to choose my pathway. And there is no ancient text that tells you that's true. What you think you become, you create your world. You're the culmination of your thought. As a man thinketh, so is he. Your thoughts are the one creating the experience. Well, that being said, then free will is a prerequisite. It's the truth of their foundation stones, of their beliefs, of those beliefs. Like I said, if you don't believe those beliefs, that's fine. I totally respect that. But for me personally, the eclipse is just a really cool event that's happening within the illusion of our world. And when I look at the fact that I get to be here in direct path of it, I think that's wonderful. I'm just so excited about it. I don't derive a big spiritual meaning out of that. Now, people will often take things like that, like, if I'm in the path of this, there's got to be a spiritual meaning to that. If this is happening, there has to be a spiritual meaning to that. That literally is living into a concept of some great external God dictating how the world's going to go. And I believe, as Joshua said, the Father and I are one. And you must become one with me as I am with the Father. In other words, we're all one. And we have to come to this oneness and this understanding of our oneness. This is my personal belief. So when I look at this idea of spiritual meaning in astrological events, in flood events, if they had a flood, there's got to be a big spiritual meaning behind it. The whole story of Noah, there's a big spiritual meaning behind this flood. I don't believe I believe there was a flood. And so, in that part of the world, I don't think it was a worldwide flood in any way, shape, or form. But why do I believe that? Because there's been evidence of it, geological evidence that there have been floods all over the world occasionally, but not all at the same time. So when I look at these events that are happening, I don't try to derive a spiritual meaning in any of them because I don't think there is a spiritual meaning. And people say, what do you mean they don't think there's a spiritual meaning? I think that's too complex. I think we are one with God, and we are here experiencing our separation from that source through our life experiences. I don't think there's anything predestined, fated, or pre-programmed that's matching the stars in that regard. I think people have found meaning in the stars, and over time, a lot of people have read my astrological reports. Some of them within the same week. They've never said the same thing. It's always coming through the person's personal interpretation of what those stars mean. And the people who are reading it from where they learned it, from somebody else's interpretation of what those stars mean. And I've had numerologists who read differently for me. I've had astrologists, like I said, read differently for me. I've had rune readers read differently for me. I've had multiple tarot card readings in the same day, and they all say something different. To me, for me in my personal belief, and coming from my life experience, I think when you sit down with someone who is reading you with these spiritual meanings, it really comes down to the filter of the person who's talking to you. And they're reading through their filters, and oftentimes they're reading through the filters of the books that they've read on their topic that they're reading with. And so, to me, it's all far simpler. That foundational stone of it's so simple we have a hard time comprehending it, that came from that first regression, it's one of the foundational stones of my belief. If it's not within me and within my power, within my free will, then I don't follow it because I don't believe that's my personal truth. If it's your personal truth, I completely respect that. I don't succumb to that kind of external forces dictating my life because if I were to do that, then I would lose my personal power to fate destinies or pre-planned lives and pre-planned missions. And I don't believe any of it. And people will argue with me and they'll try to convince me, and I will not defend my faith. And the reason I don't defend my faith is because I'm very comfortable in it. If you're trying to prove it to me, then that's you defending your faith, not me defending mine. I believe this. So when it comes down to the spiritual meaning of the eclipse, I don't believe there is one. And that's my personal take on it. And if you believe differently, good on you. I respect that. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. See ya. Bye.